You know what's there? Waiting. Beyond that beach. Immortality! Take it! It's yours!
Fucking good morning, everybody. Welcome to Immortality Lab. As always, Christian Martirana here with my good old pal, Brian Devonshire. Today we are going to be talking about sleep, mostly sleep deprivation and deficiency. The reason we're going to talk about that, as opposed to the opposite, which would be good sleep, is because most people are getting poor sleep. So in America, there's 70% of adults that are actually report that they obtain insufficient sleep at least one night a month, and 11% report insufficient sleep every single night. And so right now I'm just going to throw some other boring statistics at you just to give you just kind of an overview of what we're heading into. So it's also estimated that sleep-related problems affect 50 to 70 million Americans of all ages and socioeconomic classes. So there are different socioeconomic classes that have different, rates compared to others. But honestly, I didn't really want to get into that. I just wanted to get into overall sleep deficiency.
I imagine it's like rich people. They don't have to go to a job or work as much as, the poor.
Pretty much.
They sleep more.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, exactly. If you have to work two jobs, you're probably going to be sleeping a lot less than if you're working from home,
Mm-hmm.
So national data shows that poor sleep health is a common problem. 25% of U.S. adults reporting insufficient sleep or rest at least 15 out of 30 days.
Dude,
so
what the fuck are we doing?
Exactly. So basically, all those numbers that I just threw at you is basically showing most of us are getting crappy sleep, really crappy sleep. So leading into the next thing, I should probably talk about what the hell is sleep deprivation or deficiency. I keep throwing that term out.
Yeah, how much you got to sleep?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, sleep deprivation is you don't get enough sleep. So that begs the question, how much should we get, right? I'm just going to be talking about teens from 13 to 18 and then 18 and up, because if you're under 13, yes, you should be getting more sleep, naps included, but that's your job to go take care of your kids. We're just trying to teach you how to sleep better and how sleep deficiency can affect you negatively.
Most of the people listening to this are adults, I would imagine.
Exactly. So AASM, that's the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. They want teens, 13 to 18 years old, to sleep for 8 to 10 hours and 7 to 8 hours per day for someone 18 and up.
Yeah, and they want you to wake up at 6 to go to school also.
Exactly. And so I'm happy that you mentioned that. I will be touching up on that later about how, I remember when I was a teenager, I always wanted to go to sleep later and wake up later. And so there is actually science behind that.
Yeah.
So parents, you can be a little bit less critical of your teenagers, but I'll get into that in a bit. So we should be sleeping. Let's just talk about 18 and up. Let's just talk about adults.
Okay.
So we should be sleeping 7 to 8 hours a day. So if you're sleeping less than that, the sleep loss adds up. And so that's called your sleep debt. For example, just say you lost 2 hours of sleep each night for the whole week. That means at the end of the week, you have a sleep debt of 14 hours. You have to make it up. Your body won't just be like, oh, okay, I don't need to sleep. You eventually have to make that sleep up. And some people, they take longer to make it up than others, and you can see that on their face. You can see when they're really exhausted and tired. So some people use naps as a way to deal with that sleepiness. And yes, naps do provide that short-term boost in energy and alertness, but it doesn't give you the benefit of a full nighttime sleep. So you can't really make up for your lost sleep using naps. And the reason being is because you have to go through all of your sleep cycles, which we'll get into later as well.
So
But I found
I
that
was listening to this dude, Mathew Walker, Dr. Mathew Walker. So he's like he studies sleep. Let's see, professor of neuroscience and psychology. Yeah, so his specialty, he studies sleep specifically, and I think he mentioned that you can't really make up your sleep debt, like maybe you can with naps and stuff, um, and like the next night. But he said you can't just have 5 nights of sleep deprivation and then sleep all through the weekend, and like that's not going to fix everything. He's what he was
correct.
saying.
Correct. And the reason why it doesn't fix everything is from what I read was a different reason. So like this leads exactly perfectly into this, that some people do sleep more on their days off than their work days, right? To make up for it. But definitely sleeping more on your days off is a sign that you're not getting enough sleep. But it also is changing up your sleep wake rhythm, which we'll get into later as well. And that is what kind of doesn't allow you to get the same benefit as regular sleep. And so
I think one way he talked about it was like, I'm sure most people listening to this have student loans, and maybe you skipped a couple of payments and the interest went back into the principal. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so the principal grew because you didn't pay your debt on time.
Right.
So you can pay larger payments on the weekend, but your debt is growing a little bit.
Exactly. Which, lucky for me, I never had to take any student loans. But
Nice. Very lucky.
yeah. Well, also, yeah, just scholarships and such.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you can use that student loan analogy with anything that you have interest on, right? A credit card bill or whatever. So in short, get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. And if you don't, you are going to make up for it.
Every night.
Every single night. Like, and if, yeah, you'll suffer from it. And if you don't already suffer from it or realize that you're suffering from it, eventually you will. And by the time that you do know that you're suffering from it, you're gonna be like, oh man, I should have been sleeping a lot more. So
you're going to be suffering from dementia and you won't even be able to realize it.
Exactly, man. And so we were just talking about that sleep wake rhythm. So that's another sign that you're sleep deficient, is that you're sleeping at the wrong time of the day. You're out of the sync with your body's natural clock, your circadian rhythm. And I'll get more in detail onto that later. Another sign that you are sleep deficient is that you're not sleeping well, or you're not getting all the types of sleep that your body needs. And basically that's just talking about REM cycles versus non-REM cycles. So
REM and deep and light sleep.
REM and non-REM, because there's more than just those two. But yes,
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah, that's just how this ring breaks it down, and they
because it's simple that way. And honestly, keep it simple, stupid, right? That's the way that it works for most people. It's just like, all right, do it.
It probably is really complicated, but yeah, their user base would be like, what the fuck am I reading?
Yeah, exactly. But ultimately, you're right. It comes down to REM versus non-REM. So non-REM sleep includes deep sleep or slow wave sleep. Dreaming occurs during REM. Generally, non-REM and REM occur in a regular pattern of 3 to 5 cycles per night. So if you're not getting those full 3 to 5 cycles per night, you're becoming sleep deprived. So if you're not getting enough hours of sleep, that doesn't allow you to go through all those cycles. And if your rhythm is messed up, that's going to allow you not to go through all those cycles.
Like if your cycle, I think mine are like an hour and a half, like typically, to go through the whole cycle, whatever that means. But if something loud happens and it like I go from sleep to a more wakeful state, the cycle just got cut in half and it's like all wonky now.
See, that's really cool that you have that ring to like show you that data and stuff. I think it might be cool if in this podcast you kind of interject maybe one of the charts or something just to kind of show what you're talking about. It's really
I'll
cool.
show a perfect specimen.
But yeah, another sign that you are sleep deficient or sleep deprived is if you have a sleep disorder. Examples of these are insomnia, restless leg syndrome, parainsomnia, sleep apnea, narcolepsy, sleep paralysis.
Dude, that guy mentions sleep apnea a lot. Like that's a real problem.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And that goes in line with one of our other topics, which was breathing,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So honestly, I don't want to touch too much on these sleep disorders. If you have a sleep disorder, you probably know that you do. If you're concerned and you think that you might, there's a great website, sleepeducation.org, and it has every single sleep disorder and gives you so much information on it. So if you feel inclined to do more research on that, go for it. Yeah, so we've talked about what sleep deprivation is and deficiency, right? So why does that matter, right? What are the signs, symptoms, complications of it? So, man, okay. This really is more simple. It's really obvious, right? Like, okay, you know when you're tired, if you're feeling like you're gonna doze off when you're watching TV, when you're talking with your buddy,
Yeah.
if you're reading, if you're driving, it's pretty obvious to know if you're tired. Like, come on. I don't really need to go into more detail. I feel.
Dude, another interesting fact about drowsy driving, that actually kills more people than drunk driving.
Seriously.
Yeah.
You know, you can get a DUI for being sleepy at the wheel.
Oh, I mean, if it kills more people, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's crazy. I wouldn't necessarily. I don't know if it's a DUI because I guess you're not under the influence. I think it's driving while impaired, DWI.
Oh, yeah,
I think that's what they would consider it.
Dude, and another thing, like since we're talking about sleep deprivation, the Guinness World Records, they banned that contest, like how long can you go without sleep, because it'll just kill you. So
I forgot that was a thing. I used to read those books all the time. I used to love going to the library and renting them, man.
Yeah, dude, that was so fun. Yeah, so they banned it because it'll just literally kill you. And also, let's see, I think it was, oh, here it is, the World Health Organization. They declared nighttime shift work as a probable carcinogen. So you're more likely to get cancer if you work at night.
Does that have to do with your circadian rhythm or why? What?
Oh, well, here, look, let me see. So he says cancer grows faster and it metastasized in underslept mice.
Wow.
And so they were controlled to have cortisol stable. So it wasn't that. And he says it would be so much worse with a stress response plus sleep deprivation. So
is it assuming that the night shift workers just aren't sleeping well because it's?
Oh, I mean, yeah, you're like you were saying, like your circadian rhythm, you're supposed to be asleep at night.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I guess I could see how if you are a night shift worker, you could really be on your game and, get the proper sleep and, I don't know, set up the lighting around your house or something. I don't know. But
Yeah,
I'm not sure about
I think, but switching to night shift would be damaging, but then you would have to set your environment up so that when you're at work, it's very bright. And then when you go home, you don't get the signal that the sky is dark. So everything has to be bright for as if you're in an artificial daytime setting, and then your body really wouldn't tell the difference. And then, but most of the time people working night shift, like there's people who just pick up a night shift here and there. And so they go back and forth from day shift to night shift. And I think that's probably the worst.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's horrible. I mean, I've had jobs where I don't know my work schedule like until a couple days prior or the day prior. And it's horrible, man. Man, oh man. Like the worst thing is when you can't get on a proper sleep schedule. Because then you can't
and these nurses, they do like
anything done.
long shifts too. So they're sitting there, like 12-hour shifts, probably sleep deprived. It's not fun.
Exactly.
It's not fun.
Exactly. And sleep deficiency and deprivation can cause so many problems, man. Like
Hmm.
it messes up with your learning, your focusing, your reaction time. You'll have trouble making decisions, solving
Yep.
problems, remembering things, controlling your emotions.
Uh-huh.
And what's interesting too is the signs and symptoms they can be different between adults and children.
Hmm.
So kids, they might be overactive and
Oh.
have problems paying attention. So a lot of parents, they're like, "Oh, ADHD, give him Ritalin, Ritalin, Ritalin." Like maybe check his
Yeah.
sleeping patterns.
Yeah, maybe stop making kids wake up early for school or whatever.
Seriously though, seriously, it might be as easy as that. It really could be. And I'm not saying like don't take Ritalin or whatever. I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying do or don't take prescription drugs, whatever. But
We don't want to get sued.
yeah, exactly, right. But yeah, like sleep deficient kids, they also could feel angry, impulsive, mood swings, sad, depressed. I mean, that's the same with adults, right? It's like when we're hungry, those Snickers commercials.
Yeah, you're not you when you're hungry.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, another thing about hunger is that um, it's funny that the commercial like switches it. So really, it's the sleep is causing like your hunger, your hangriness to some degree. Um, so let's see. Okay, so he says, I'm still talking about this Matthew Walker guy. So he has a lot to say about this. So
Yeah.
he was saying your body thinks it's under starvation stressor. So the hunger hormone ghrelin is increased. So, I mean, I notice that when I don't get good sleep, I'm just like snacking all day and I'm just like, ugh, I don't want to do anything. And it's like a double whammy too. So you're not active and you're eating all the time.
For sure. If I remember correctly, chewing gum also activates that ghrelin because
Oh,
chewing gives your brain a response that it's time to eat,
like
right?
the Pavlov thing.
Exactly. And so then your body's like, what's going on here? But yeah, a common myth with sleeping or sleep deficiency is that people they think that they can learn to get by on little sleep with no negative effects. Like I've seen, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, it drives me nuts, man. Like when people are like, "Oh, you're such a pussy. You need 8 hours of sleep, dude." I'm a fucking badass. I can work construction work and climb 17 towers a day on 3 hours of sleep and then go party and do it again the next day. And
Hmm.
it's like, cool, dude. Cool,
You're
man.
dying slowly.
Yeah, it's like, holy cow. It's like, not even are you dying slowly. Like, I see those dark circles,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
I- who are you trying to impress right now? Are you lying to yourself? Like
And
pretending
they
that
have
you're
like
not
their
tired?
identity revolves around drinking 32 ounces of coffee a day. Like,
Right,
oh,
dude. They're like, I had 3 pots of coffee. You're like, three
wait,
pots?
why do you need those in the first
Three
place?
pots, bro? Like, I have 1 cup of green tea a day. Like that's
That's
my
where you want to
caffeine.
be.
Green tea, man. Um, so yeah, like obviously lacking sleep, it's no hidden thing. It's very apparent how negative it is.
Yeah,
And
and I
who's at risk? Everyone, literally everyone is. I would say adults more so than kids, but at the same time, if the adults aren't, you know, doing the right thing for their kids, and their kids can have bad sleeping habits as well. Um, and so going back to like our very first podcast with the diabetes, we went
mhm.
into all these different health problems, right? And so deprivation of sleep is definitely linked to heart disease, kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, obesity, depression, so many negative things. All of these things are like the number one killers in America. So go to the basics: water intake, sleep,
Mhm.
my gosh, breathe properly.
I'm so glad you mentioned the diabetes because I wanted to talk about this really quick. So being sleep deprived, or I mean, just getting less sleep that night. Um, so it increases your insulin sensitivity. So just getting one bad night of sleep, it like you measure someone's blood sugar after they eat, you would think they're diabetic, basically. Like it has
Right.
that much of an effect that fast. And also it increases the stress. So people who are sleep deprived will probably say they've tried every diet and it doesn't work. So they are more insensitive, and they have increased stress because of the sleep deprivation. So it's another horrible positive feedback cycle. So the extra insulin in your body is just keeping you fat and storing energy that you just ate. And I think, yeah, the stress hormone, it helps those signals. So you just it wants to hold on to energy as much as it can during stressful events.
And that's, in my opinion, a very good survival mechanism that our
Yeah,
body does.
that's what it thinks it's happening. It's like
Exactly.
we're being chased or whatever. We need to conserve.
Right. Because what's cool, it's so interesting. Like our brain isn't used to living in air conditioning and a house and all this. It's still in survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
It still doesn't know when we're going to get our next meal, which is crazy because I know when I'm going to get my next meal,
Right.
but my body physiologically does not.
Mm-hmm. So it's always planning for the worst, basically.
Always planning for the worst, which is very smart of it.
And I just wanted to bring up another point since we're on the evolution topic.
Yeah.
Like, so one way to look at it, like why is sleep important? Like, I mean, you see all these correlations of affecting your health and stuff, but how long have monkeys been around? Like, how long has the human evolution started? Like millions and millions of years, right? And if you look at most organisms on Earth, they have some form of sleep also. So like if you think about sleep, you're taking up, what is it, a third of your life sleeping?
If you're doing it properly, yes.
Something like that. So you're sleeping a third of your life. You're unconscious, you're indefensible. You know, you're completely vulnerable to any predator that you might have, but it's stuck around through evolution. Like, why? It's either the stupidest thing or the most important thing, sleep.
That's a very, very, very good point. That is a very, very good point. It's stuck around. Mm-hmm. Things that are unnecessary do not stick around.
Yeah, you just get selected out. You die.
Yeah, exactly. I always think of like sleep is basically preventing your engine from overheating. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like if you, what's the longest you've ever gone without sleep?
Oh, I would say like a day and a half, not even 2 days. Yeah.
Okay. The longest I've ever gone is 4 days straight.
Oh, wow.
And at that point, I was literally seeing through walls. I was hearing voices.
Yeah.
You hallucinate more. Like, dude, I've done hallucinogenics. I have, you know, I've done shrooms, I've done LSD, I've tried those things out. And when I was sleep deprived, it was like way worse than that. Mm-hmm. It was so weird, man. It was so surreal. I don't even know, but I never want to do that. I never, ever want to do that again. And I'm not going to. But the thing is like, okay, if 4 days of no sleep and I'm hallucinating, not even realizing that I'm on Earth and in a human existent form, mm-hmm. Okay, it's probably pretty bad if I were to continue not sleeping.
Yeah,
you know, like
what if you measured your productivity during that time too?
Oh, it was probably absolute zero. It was zero.
Yeah, exactly.
It was zero, man. I would be so curious to know what the fuck would happen if someone went like 12 days without sleep.
Yeah, like, let's see. The longest.
You were talking about the Guinness World Records. Like, how long before they died?
Yeah, let me just look that up real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I do want to talk about what makes us sleep. It's more of the scientific part. It's a little bit boring, but I think it is important to know as well. And if people, you know, don't want to listen to that part or whatever, they can just fast forward ahead. Should I get into that while you're looking that up, or should I wait?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to dig through some articles here.
All right, cool. So I'm just going to talk about what makes the human body sleep. Actually, not yet. We're going to talk about evolution for a second. So I was talking with my brother about like chickens. I forgot what exactly we were talking about chickens, but we were talking about like domesticated chickens. Oh, okay, I know what we were talking about. Like he started mentioning that chickens are all over the world, and we got to the topic like, okay, did someone bring them over here, or like horses were brought to America?
Mhm.
Chickens are so easy to transport. So were they brought here, or are they just raised? Whatever. Long story short, we looked at the history of chickens. They were domesticated in it was rather 2000, I think 2000 BC in India. And all of these chickens originated from some different birds. But then we got on the topic like, imagine how different all animals looked 2000 years ago. I mean, not 2000 years ago, 4000 years ago in 2000 BC.
Yeah, just look at the banana, dude. Have you ever seen?
Exactly. And so like, imagine everything would be so different, man. I don't know. I'm a hippie. I just like talking about that stuff.
Okay, here I found some articles here. So you said you went 4 days without sleep. So
Yeah.
the first thing that pops up is if it's been more than 3 days and you can't sleep, it's best to see your healthcare provider right away. So yeah, definitely it wasn't a good situation for you.
Oh, you don't have to tell me it wasn't a good situation.
So here's the longest
I go into
record.
more detail on that situation, but I don't know. I don't think I should.
Yeah. Maybe off record or extra content. How about that?
Exactly.
So
Premium.
let's see.
My Snapchat premium.
Mhm.
OnlyFans, dude.
So this guy Randy in 1964 broke the world record for going without sleep, without drifting off for 11 days.
Jeez, man.
That must have been so
Without
exhausting.
drifting off. Dude, that would
Keep
be
your attention.
the worst torture. That would be the worst torture in the world. Like, do you remember being in class, like in high school or
Yeah,
middle
like
school?
30 minutes was torture,
And then,
dude.
dude, they would put on, it would be like winter time, right? You'd walk into the heated room
Oh,
and they'd be like, oh,
so
today we're
comfy.
putting on The Patriot. And we'd watch a movie. And we're just like, are you kidding me? You're expecting me to stay awake at 6:30 in the morning? It's 40 degrees outside and I'm in a heated room?
Hell no.
11 days.
Yeah, so that was the longest record. Let's see. And then
Does it show his like experience?
like what he did.
Yeah, like a journal of what he was seeing or talking about, or
I mean, I did find something about hallucinating, and it was about 4 days. So I'm sure he did see some crazy shit.
okay, sweet. So I was spot on with that hallucinating.
Yeah. This is a long article, so I doubt I can find anything in a fast.
For sure, no worries.
But
no worries.
hi, future Brian here. So NPR did interview this guy, and if you want to go in and listen to the episode, just look for NPR. It's morning edition: The Haunting Effects of Going Days Without Sleep. Okay, bye. Yeah, so the longest death. So let's see, Michael Cork, apparently, who died after 6 months of total sleep deprivation.
Wow.
And then, here's another one from Huffington Post. Man dies after going 11 days without sleep. So that was the record for this guy he set. So another guy did it, I guess, and on 11 days he died.
So that's nuts. You would have to die because your brain's overheated, right? It's overworked. That's what you die from, right?
I'm sure it's more than just one thing that's fucking killing you, but
what would it be? Like your organs would stop functioning. Your brain would be overworked. I feel like that's what it has to come down to. I really want to look that up. Maybe we should make that another segment.
Hey, it's Future Brian here, making it another segment right now. So the sleep deprivation kills you basically by degrading your brain and building up a bunch of waste products. So when you sleep, the spinal cord or the spinal fluid washes through your brain and takes away all of the waste products and stuff. But some interesting things I found in 1898, two physiologists kept dogs awake, and they found that their brain, their spinal cord, and their brain was just degrading. The nerves were breaking down, and that the guy that we were talking about, Michael Cork, within a few months, he deteriorated into dementia. And when you look at a normal brain versus an Alzheimer's dementia brain, the Alzheimer's brain is smaller. It's shrunken. It looks like it got dehydrated like a raisin, you know. And if you look on the inside, it's more hollow. There's more. The openings are wider, so it shrinks, and from the inside and the outside, not good. All right, back to the podcast. Yeah, I'm sure it fucks up your hormones, your circadian rhythm. I mean, that's involving hormones. So if you don't sleep, all of those hormones that should have been released on a certain time of day, like that doesn't happen, and then it just like gets worse and worse and worse.
So that's a perfect segue into what makes us sleep. All right.
Good. Good.
So it's really cool. Like, evolution is so, yes, you know. So the body clock works. It typically has a 24-hour repeating rhythm, the circadian rhythm. And so a lot of people are like, oh, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. You know, I honestly think it's because that's where we are. That's our environment.
That's
you know?
that's
so
the day on Earth is 24 hours. So
we adapt to it, you know?
Uh-huh.
So there's two processes that interact to control the circadian rhythm. The first is a pressure to sleep that builds with every hour that you're awake. So the longer you're awake, it drives you to sleep later, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so a compound, adenosine. So I know you've heard of adenosine triphosphate, ATP, ADP. I think we talked about it in one of our previous podcasts. So adenosine is one of the factors linked to this drive for sleep. So, and to me, that makes sense, you know, because so if adenosine is like energy, right? So the longer you're awake, as your adenosine would be increasing, your body would be able to realize that it's increasing and need to do the opposite. I don't know.
I don't think it's that simple because adenosine is involved with ATP, that it gives you energy. I think the adenosine builds up in your brain and you feel sleepy. I think the buildup is it's not like the lack of energy, right? Is what you're saying elsewhere?
So actually, I forgot, and now I remembered.
Okay.
I remembered.
What is it?
So like anything else, adenosine needs to be broken down. Like things need to be metabolized in order to work, right? So you're building adenosine while you're awake, but it's not doing anything.
It's attaching to receptors in your brain.
It's storing basically.
Yeah.
It's not used.
It's like seats filling up in a movie theater, like that.
Correct.
over the day.
Exactly. And so then when you sleep, your body breaks it down.
Mm-hmm.
And so then
caffeine gets it out.
Then
it's
you
like
can use it.
Yeah, I don't really understand it that much. So maybe
it's like, okay, you know, if you're gonna do if you're a marathon runner, if you're an athlete, carbo loading, you're gonna eat pasta the night before of your event because
So
you're gonna get
more
the energy from the carbs for the next day. You're not gonna eat pasta an hour before your event.
Ugh, you fucking vomit.
It would be the worst, right? So that's basically what's going on is you build up adenosine, and then while you sleep, only while you sleep, your body breaks it down.
Yeah. And
so if you're lacking sleep, you will lack adenosine. And if you lack adenosine, you're going to lack ADP and ATP. So even if you take things like creatine that help you with the synthesis of ATP, if you don't have enough adenosine, then you're still limited to how much you can get.
I think you might be right, but I don't know if it's like 100% the reason that you feel tired the next day is that you're lacking.
Of course
ATP.
not. It's 100%. Of course not. It's 100%.
Okay.
Of course not. But it's a large variable, And the reason why I say it's a large variable is because adenosine, like adenosine triphosphate, is the purest form of energy. It's
For the human.
not correct, for a human. So if you're lacking that, then fucking of course you're going to be lacking energy some way, right? So that's the first process. It's the breaking down of adenosine. The second process involves your internal body clock. And so this is in sync with certain cues in the environment, light, darkness, and other cues. You know, like you were talking about the night shift worker. So if you don't have these certain cues, then you don't really know when to feel awake and when to feel drowsy, and we're meant to. So for example, light signals are received through your eyes that tell a special area in your brain that it's daytime. Cool.
Wake up.
So now imagine getting this during nighttime or whatever, you know, like if it's off.
Your body's all screwed up. It's like, what's going on?
It does. And so your body releases chemicals in a rhythm. And so when it gets dark, your body releases melatonin. So I know a lot of people will take melatonin tablets to help with their sleepiness or to help sleep. And the thing is, so many people, they'll like, oh, this isn't working. So they just take more, where it's really like, okay, you need to take it for a week or two because the melatonin needs to be prevalent in your rhythm in your body over time.
Yeah. And then you also just build up like a resistance to it, like caffeine. So eventually people will get to the 3 pot of caffeine a day because it doesn't work as much anymore. So if you're just like supplementing with melatonin, it can't do its job as well as it did before.
Exactly. And so what's cool is like adenosine, you know, the longer you're awake, the more adenosine your body builds up, your blood builds up. The amount of melatonin in your blood peaks as the evening wears on. So that's why they believe the peak is an important part of preparing your body for sleep. So when you're approaching that peak, you should have some kind of sleep ritual or something where it's like, okay, I'm here. Because I don't know about you, but I've definitely gotten that second wind where you're like tired.
Yeah. What if missing the first wave and then now you stay up all night?
Exactly. Where if you would have fallen asleep, you probably would have fallen asleep all night. And now you skipped X amount of those sleep cycles, right?
Yeah. So you gotta ride the wave when it happens, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Listen to your body, and the stronger connection you have with your body, the easier you're gonna be able to listen to it, right? It's not speaking a different language. It's like loud and clear right in front of you, like time to go to sleep, you know. Yeah. It's really obvious, or it should be anyways. And I mean, exposure to bright lights, TV, computer,
scrolling through
cell
Instagram,
phone, exactly. All those things mess your cycle up. So that's all getting ready to sleep, right? We just talked about all that. So now the opposite, getting ready to wake up. So as the sun rises, your body releases cortisol, and that prepares your body to wake up. So once again, if the lighting is off, if the timing is off, then that's going to be messed up. So I do personally use blackout shades for certain parts of the year when the sun comes up at 5 a.m, because I don't want to be up that early. I like waking up at around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. But if the sun is beaming through my windows, I'm up. And what that tells me is that my body does have a pretty good rhythm, meaning that when it's sun time's up, it's time to wake up. And I guess based on what I was just saying, there's definitely enough release of cortisol to wake me up.
That's good. Your body's working properly, it sounds like.
It sounds like it to me as well. But the thing is, I can also see where me having dark out shades could hinder that on some days. You know, just say I didn't have to go to work till just say 11 a.m. That never happens. Let's see if it ever does. But just say that did happen and I was went to sleep later. And when I woke up, it's 10 a.m. The sun has been out for 4 hours. It's like, what am I doing? That's ruining that circadian rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah, that I think the cortisol is supposed to wake you up. So being stressed out is going to affect that a little bit. And so you wake up from the cortisol and you're supposed to get some daylight. And that's supposed to reaffirm the signal in your body that, yes, it's daytime.
Which makes sense because the change of light so drastically from dark to light, completely yin and yang, right?
Mm-hmm.
Boom, that's a stressor. That is, whoa. And it's not necessarily a distressor, but it is a stressor, right? And so our body has to react.
So I don't know if it would really affect that much if the gradual, like it takes like an hour from going dark to daytime versus having blackout curtains.
Sure.
I
Sure. I
think
see
that
what
the
you're
thing
saying.
that wakes you up is the gradual rise of cortisol, and then you get the sunlight. It's daytime. You know what I mean?
So for sure. Okay. Good point. So, all right, just say you had the blackout curtain said light instead of a gradual nice wake up. That's when it's like, boom, drill sergeant time. Let's go do
Uh-huh.
some push-ups and run a mile. And nobody likes waking up that way. Versus the gradual, because the change from night to day is gradual. And so your cortisol, instead of going spike, it's slowly rising. It's more natural, which
Yeah, I think the best is to just like I mean, the daytime schedule is different in summer, of course. You should just wake up when the sun comes up, but everyone has a job and they have a schedule. They can't really do that.
and some people live in Alaska.
Yeah, where the sun never comes up.
Yeah, exactly.
uh, you better
So
hope your
there's
ancestors grew up in Alaska.
right. There's definitely some strategies we have here for getting enough sleep. And to be honest, like I feel a lot of them are really simple and really easy and very self-explanatory, but here's the refresher anyways. Go to bed and wake up at the same time. Set an alarm, make a routine. It's
Right,
that
that's where
easy.
the blackout curtains would come in handy. I think if you want to live every day like it's summer, you can probably do that. Or if it's winter, I guess. If I don't know.
In
Yeah,
what way?
if it's summer, like you will, the days are longer in summer. Um, okay, maybe blackout curtains wouldn't help in summer actually, but artificial light would. So you would
Yeah.
just add the missing light from the daylight in winter. So then you're always living in winter. Your body thinks.
Right. And I've seen like alarm clocks that gradually build up the noise and
Oh,
also light, which
mm-hmm.
I don't own one, but that seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, but speaking about the bedtime routine, keep that routine on the weekends too. Don't change it just because you're like, oh, I don't have to work tomorrow. Don't stay up till 4 a.m. just because you can, because then it's going to change everything the next day and the following week. It's going to be harder to get back on track.
Yeah. So that's where the problem of catching up with sleep comes in. Like you need the um continuity, like every day is the same, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
So when you sleep on the weekends for 12 hours, that screws it up.
it screws it up. And if you need it, I would say getting that 12 hours of sleep is more important than screwing up the rhythm, because lack of sleep, I feel, it literally kills you, which
Mm-hmm.
we saw that we'll get into at a later segment. But yeah, it does ruin your cycle. And so it's like, okay, just say you were trying to quit tobacco, right? And it takes, I don't know how long, let's say a week for nicotine or tobacco, whatever, to get out of your bloodstream, right? So just say you went 6 days without it and you're really proud of yourself, whatever. And then you're like, cool, I'm going to smoke a cigarette. Well, you never got it out of your system. So your rhythm was still fucked.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you went 6 days without smoking a cigarette. So truthfully, I'm proud of you. Good for you for doing better than you have been, but you're still not quite there yet. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So ideally you want, like, I mean, we said this already, but every single day should be 8 hours or 7 hours at the same time. That's ideal.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Shoot for that as much as you can.
Yeah. And then an hour before bedtime, make it quiet time. You know, don't do strenuous exercise. Some stretching is okay. Absolutely. Stretching is actually great before sleep. But avoid bright light, avoid TV, your computer, avoid your cell phone. Like, read a book. You know, even sometimes that is not the best thing because it does stimulate your brain.
But
Um,
at least you're not getting the bright light that tells you it's
exactly.
daytime. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Also, avoiding heavy or large meals before bedtime, like a couple hours before bedtime.
Hmm.
Avoiding alcoholic drinks before bedtime. That's a diuretic, so you're more likely to wake up and go pee.
Not to mention
Avoid
that alcohol will screw up
nicotine.
your sleep cycles too.
Alcohol is the worst drug in the world, man.
Uh-huh.
Avoiding nicotine, caffeine, basically avoid drugs. Anything that's going to affect your natural cycle, your natural metabolic homeostatic body, then don't put other things into it. You know?
Yeah. And so you want to avoid these things before bedtime, like stimulants like cigarettes and alcohol, because it screws up your cycle, and food, because then now your body's digesting, and when you should be going to bed, it's working harder than it should be. I think you should shoot for like 3 hours before bedtime. If you really need to have a dinner 3 hours before bedtime, or if you want to have your nightcap, your alcoholic drink to kind of relax you, then just do it earlier, not like an hour before bedtime.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Because if it's an hour before bedtime, your body has to
Yeah, you can
ta-
metabolize it and
exactly. And it's like it needs to work. And if it doesn't, I'm sure you have been there before where you eat like 17 tacos from Jack in the Box on one of those drunken nights and then you fall asleep. And then you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I feel ridiculously horrible. And it's not because you ate Jack in the Box, which is shitty food. It's the fact that your body didn't metabolize that food like at all. You just ate it and it sat there in basically the stomach acid and hydrochloric acid and just becomes goop and like doesn't do anything. It's
yeah,
such
it
a
doesn't do what it's supposed to, and then
it literally just becomes waste.
dude,
And
have you ever felt when you have the drunken, you eat the bowl of pasta in the middle of the night, and then you wake up and you're just absolutely starving, even though
starving.
starving, the
Yeah.
hungriest you've ever been.
Ever. Yep.
How? You just ate a bowl of pasta, man. I
Yeah,
don't,
for sure. For sure. You're like, where'd it go? It
but
just disappeared.
yeah, but it goes back to the hormones that are your circadian rhythms all screwed up now.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's going to carry forward to the next day. Now your body doesn't know when it's supposed to eat breakfast. And like,
Hmm.
it's so
Yeah.
bad, you know? Spending time outside every day definitely helps. Being physically active, spending time outside because you're getting that sunlight. Your body's understanding it's daytime, and then you're using your energy during that daytime. Being physically active, you're exhausting your body. You're making yourself tired. Um, Keeping your bedroom quiet, cool,
Oh,
dark.
sorry to interrupt again, but the physically active. So there was this another guy here. I think Russell Foster. I don't know if this is true or not, but it sounds interesting. Your fat cells are sensitive to light. I would imagine they kind of are, because you make vitamin D and stuff through light. So I imagine that they have some sensitivity to light. But
Sure.
he says it makes the cells less inflamed, and it changes their hormone production. I'll have to fact check that, but
Interesting. Very interesting.
so being outside without a shirt on is going to decrease inflammation, and it's going to make it easier for you to lose weight or something like that.
Aha, so that's why I've been good my whole life, going swimming all those hours,
That
dude.
must be it, dude.
And then yeah, lastly, just having a good relaxing technique before bed. Take a hot bath, do some stretching, do some breathing practices, just something nice and calming for yourself. But
It all
yeah,
sounds
man,
so
that's
obvious, those things.
I agree. I agree. And so does water intake.
Uh-huh.
And, so does breathing. You would think that breathing properly would be easy, but it's not. And so it really is taking it back to the basics, man. Um, but yeah, here we have it. Here's why sleep is so important for you. Avoid sleep deprivation, avoid sleep deficiency. Don't be one of the 70%. My gosh.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh.
Don't you want to be productive?
Yeah, right, exactly. What are we talking about next week? Water intake, or what are you feeling, man?
Dude, I don't know. There's so many things.
The only other basics of life we have to talk to you about is water intake. Honestly, I feel like that'd be a pretty quick one. It's like drink a gallon a day. Cool.
Bye.
Yeah, like literally, dude. Literally. It's like don't be stupid. Come on.
So it'll be water intake for sure.
But yeah, we can educate people on caffeine, alcohol, etc., etc. So yeah, there's some good stuff.
And so I want to close with again back to the Mathew Walker guy. He has these the pillars of sleep. So you want timing. So you want to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. So we did talk about that. Intensity or like depth. So you want it, when your body goes into REM or non-REM cycles, it fucking goes into them. And then another one is duration. So that's just the amount of sleep you have. So 6 hours, 7 hours. So you want the optimal duration, timing, intensity, and another one is continuity. So just keep it the same.
Consistent.
Keep it consistent. And I guess another pillar from someone else was regularity. So so just consistency, same time, at the right time, intensity, and you want the right duration.
For sure. And last thing that I want to touch on is if you are, so Brian just touched on timing, duration, continuity, and what was the I? Was
intensity?
Intensity. Okay, that's what I thought it was. If you're lacking in all four of those areas, don't try to knock out all four at once. Just choose one. Just like if you don't have consistency, if you don't have a sleep routine, if you're getting too little of sleep, focus first on getting enough sleep. Then make some kind of routine or something, or start with your routine, whatever works for you. Everyone learns differently, but my best opinion, my best advice, don't try to do all of them at once. Do one at a time, and then they'll build upon each other.
Yeah, and you were talking about anchor habits the other day.
Yeah.
So you can, pick something you do in the evening and add one of these things that will help your sleep, like avoid light or whatever. So you just anchor that to one of your habits that's already there, right?
Exactly. So do you want to explain that again, or do you want me to?
Yeah, you go. You're better at it.
So basically an anchor habit would be something that you're already doing. So for example, you always brush your teeth before you go to sleep, right? Mm-hmm. Or before you go to bed, probably an hour before, maybe half an hour, maybe 10 minutes. I don't know. You brush your teeth before you go to sleep. So you brush your teeth. So what you could do is now every single time you brush your teeth, you could balance on one leg. Or specifically to sleep practice, you could start turning off all the lights.
Yeah, shut off your phone or something.
You could shut off your phone. You could shut off your TV, but just create a new habit, turning off lights to your anchor habit, brushing teeth, that you already do really well. You're not ever, ever, ever going to lose your ability to brush your teeth. Like if you do, then something's weird, right? Mm-hmm. Like you could use a shower as an anchor habit as well. You probably shower every day. Mm-hmm. So every time you shower, scrub your feet. I don't know, whatever.
Apply one of these sleep habits to it.
Exactly. So I hope that made sense.
It did.
Good.
That's it. Woo! We did it.
Okay. Immortality Lab. Brian Devonshire, he's the man. I'm Christian Martirana. I'm kind of the man too.
Subscribe. We have a Patreon if you want to support us so that we can keep doing this.
Flex the fucking guns. It's about the gains.
Oh my God.
It's about the gains, baby. About the gains.
I can see every vein in his body.
Yeah. All right. Now I'm going to go to Dickman's, get some ugly steaks, and go hang out with my dad and grandma and play some poker and celebrate my grandma's birthday.
Dude, that sounds like a pretty dope Sunday.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Immortality! Shake it! It's yours!